rum pum pum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Rum pum 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 ba-dum pum 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 ba-da-da-dum pum pum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. I think I've had too much coffee today. Hi, everyone. I think I've got more energy than I'm supposed to have at this time of night. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello from Wisconsin, says Shelly. And Buffy says hi, all. And Grazia from South Florida. And hello from Oklahoma, says Angela. And Smiling Tree Branches. Hi from Lissa in Mexico. You've got your Mexican flag there. And Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to see you all. Hi, everyone. Everyone's joining in. I'd love to see where you're from. Oklahoma and Humble, Texas is Tina. And what else do we have here? It's coming in fast. So Pat in Kansas. And Paul. Hi, Paula Sibley from Wisconsin. Hi, Conchetta. Hello from Arizona. I love the name Conchetta. I had an aunt Conchetta. And Marty from Pittsburgh, and Diane from Wichita Falls in Texas, and then another Houston, Texas, Teresa and Lori, Elizabeth between Allentown and Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, says Lori. Noreen from Pace, Florida. Hi, Noreen. And Buffy from Ohio, too sunny Ohio. Hi, Noreen, says Susie B. Hi, Susie B. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all. Good evening. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I am here as a homeopath to do one thing and one thing only. We do it every single Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And we meet so that I can teach you what I know about homeopathy. And I like to see you share information with each other and perhaps even connect. It's a good thing. This community matters because homeopathy is pretty reliable. A lot more reliable than many other methods of medicine. So that's why we help each other. Sometimes it's not easy to figure out exactly what to do, but that's why we have each other. That's why we have your education. That's why you join gateways, our gateway classes, and join our study groups, etc., etc. So, my friends, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and I welcome you all. Good morning from a rather wet Western Australia, says Tara. Nice to see you all. And Carrie from Dallas. Hi, Harry. Hi, Mighties, he says. All right, so tonight we are going to talk about something that happened to me. And I thought, you might be interested. Maybe you wouldn't be, but I think it's helpful to know what other people do, what homeopaths do when they're injured. And it's been a while since I've had an injury that I can remember. Anyway, I walk on the beach every morning with my husband. And we walk for about between 40 and 60 minutes every day, unless it's pouring rain. And I always walk barefoot unless it's freezing cold. And even in the cold weather, I bundle up and try to walk barefoot, which is, I can understand why we should be wearing shoes, because as I walked along the beach, I stepped on what I would call a reed. It was a very hard grass, like a wild grass. And it went right into my heel. It was painful. And it was, good morning. Some from Calcutta. How nice. Partha Pratim. Nice to see someone from Calcutta. Hi. So it hurt. It was obviously embedded. And I hobbled home. And Perry said, well, let me see if I can get it out. And it was hard to get. He couldn't get it out. We had tweezers. We washed it down with some calendula. I soaked it in some warm water and with calendula in it. And that's normally what we do when there's an injury of that sort, because I didn't want it to close over. The warm water and calendula keeps it from doing that. It also keeps infection down. And I'm not going to tell you what I did right away. I want to see what you think you might do, or what you have done. I'd like to know if anyone's ever had this problem. I'm sure certainly everybody steps on something from some time or another. But one of the problems here is that I walk every day, and I not only walk on the beach, but I also, when I'm teaching my classes during the day, I have a treadmill now, and I walk on that, and I love it. And I'm so into this walking thing. I've actually been walking almost two, sometimes even 3 hours a day because I have so many classes that I'm teaching in the academy and mastery, mastermind, et cetera, that I'm really into this, and I want to be able to walk. Now, I have to tell you, I could go to a clinic. In fact, my neighbor said, "Well, here's a phone number, and here's the location of a clinic. It's really good. It's a podiatrist. This person, I think it's a woman, really knows what to do, and she'll get it out." And I was thinking, but it hurts a lot, and I don't want anyone poking around there. And I know what they would do is they'd probably give me an injection, and that's going to be painful. And to be honest, my friends, I'm chicken. So everyone's telling me what they would use. They would use silica, 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 silica. Everybody's saying silica, silica, silica. Shanna, I think it's Shanna, or is it Shanna, from Richmond says Ledum. And she's right. I took Ledum. And Harry says Ledum and Hypericum. You're absolutely right. So it was painful. I considered taking Hypericum, but it wasn't that painful. And Hypericum is also great for infections. But I did indeed. I took Ledum. Conchetta says silica 6X. Allison says silica. Harry says silica. Everyone's saying, what's really good is that silica pushes out splinters. So the problem is that if I want it to come out, that means I'm pushing it in every time I walk because I'm still walking. So the day after, I got bread and soaked it in milk and put it on the site, washed it down, cleaned it with calendula, scrubbed it a little bit, and then put bread on there with milk, and then put a bandage around it. And hopefully would help draw it out. But it also gave it a cushion. And so I didn't feel the pain because there was all this cushion of soft bread around my heel. And that was actually very comforting. And then I was thinking, I should be wearing shoes that have this kind of a cushion. It was really comfortable to walk the second day. Third day, same thing again. Now, when I squeezed out as I was walking, once I squeezed out a good amount of the milk, the cushion wasn't as spongy, but it still gave me some kind of cushion. So what I did was, let's say I stepped on a bee last Friday. Also no fun. I know I have stepped on bees too on the beach. This is how it happens to me almost every time. That's why I guess we wear shoes. This earthing business, I don't know how far I'm going to go with this because if this keeps happening, I stepped on a bee few months ago, about 6 months ago. So anyway, I took Ledum mostly because it was an injury that was a splinter type injury. So these are the things that we know off the top of our heads, right, everyone? And so what I want you to know is I want you to think like this. I want you to know those medicines that are most useful in a pinch. But we also want to look in our repertory because we might miss something. We might miss something that could be quite valuable. So here's my repertory. This is Robin Murphy's 4th edition. If you don't have it, you might want to own one. And I'm on page... I'm looking on page 2312, and I look in the clinical section under injuries. And if I look under injuries, wounds from splinters. Now, there are several medicines there that we could consider. Arnica is bold. Hypericum is bold, of course. Cicuta is bold. Ledum is bold. Myrus is bold. And silica is bold. Now, what is particularly interesting is... if we want to, it says splinters, and then expulsions to promote. So that's a sub-rubric, which is very useful. Expulsion to promote a splinter. So we have 4 medicines. The 2 big ones are, number 1, silica. Of course, we all know silica. In fact, I just did a... Did we post that already? I don't know who's with me tonight. Is Serena here or is it Natalie? I haven't looked to see who's with me tonight. But we just posted something on silica where we invited a few of my students to give us their stories on silica. Fascinating It was our podcast. I think it's up now. And so everyone talked about silica, and it's such a fabulous medicine because we know that silica can push out splinters and glass, shards, etc. So, and that is, and we've seen it with shards of glass. And if you want to listen to that podcast, it's fascinating. So now my sister, says Paula Sibley, my sister-in-law stepped on a fishbone on the beach and she had to have surgery to take it out. I don't want to hear that, Paula. I don't want to hear that. I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but I'm really going to do whatever I can. So Myristica is another medicine here. Now, expulsion to promote, the two main ones is number 1, silica, and the second is Myristica. So after I took the Ledum for a couple of days, I did start silica, and I started it in a 6X. I don't see any change. This has been about 9 days now that I've had this embedded in my heel. The pain has gone down quite a bit. There's only pain when I press on it. I can feel that there's something there. And I have to say that, thank you. My staff says, yes, the podcast was just posted a few days ago. Natalie, thanks, Natalie, for pointing that out. Check out my podcast because we just talked about silica. Let me just tell you about Myristica because it's one of the two main medicines. Now I'm going to go to Materia Medica and read about Myristica because, of course, we know silica. And I also happen to know Myristica, but I haven't looked at this medicine in a long time. It doesn't show up that often. It's really more often used for boils. And for boils, generally speaking, I use Hepar Sulph. But Myristica is a very good choice as well. So here I am in Robin Murphy's Materia Medica, and under M for Myristica, and it's a sebifera. We know that it's great for injuries and suppurations and whitlows. Now, it's noted whitlows are those infections that gather around a fingernail or a toenail, and they grow large and they fill with pus. So, but we also know that Myristica is great for, hold on, I'm going to find this. I'm on page 1335 in the Materia Medica, Robin Murphy's. Myristica is useful for abscesses from splinters. Now, there is no abscess, at least not that I'm aware of. Not at this point. I can't see it. Only Perry can see it. It's in such a position that I can see it, but not closely enough, not well enough. I'm not as limber as I used to be. Especially splinters under the nails, causing infections, pus, and pain. But, of course, this is not under the nails. But it says that it's, there's another little section here I wanted to read. Foreign objects, suppuration, also of the joints. And now it was stated here that Cartier noted 2 cases in which he used Myristica. And it was in joints that had been affected by an infection, and pus had accumulated. And what was interesting, it was not from splinters; they were just joints that were infected. And he used Myristica 3C, yes, 3C, and one took months for it to resolve, and another one it worked out fairly quickly. Five drops 3 times a day was given in 10 days. There was no longer suppuration. The size of the joint in this elderly man, he was 87 years old, has become normal, and the tender spot was gone. So that is certainly a possibility. Now, I have to also say that silica is also a great medicine for boils and abscesses. But and so we have 2 medicines that have the capacity to suppurate, to push out a splinter, as well as deal with a potential infection. So let's see what everyone else is saying. Almost always use Ledum, someone's saying here. All right. Let's see what everyone's got here. I like to hear what other people's experiences. Conchetta says Ledum for puncture wound and Hypericum for the pain. And as I said earlier, Hypericum is great for infection as well as the possibility. Bentonite clay paste. Great idea, Jewel. Not a bad idea at all. Yeah, and I have bentonite clay. I had a splinter in my finger, and my husband dug it out with a needle. Minor at-home surgery. No doctor needed. Yes, nice job. We like Maristica too and worked to cut a gum boil when Heparsulf no longer was acting, says Phoenicia. Okay, and how about PRID, P-R-I-D, drawing salve? It worked for my son when the head of a wood stick was embedded in his armpit. Now, I don't know that. I do know about drawing salves, but I don't know about that particular one. Let's see what everyone else. I'm confused about the page number. Sorry. It was page 2313 in the repertory, and it's page 1335 in the Materia Medica. All right. Let's see. PRID homeopathic drawing salve contains arnica, calendula. Oh, isn't that carbolic acid, echinacea, sulfur, ichthymol, silica, and sulfur. That's very interesting. Thank you, Conchetta. I'm going to ask Natalie to grab that for me, that name, and I may just look into that ointment. If you went with Maristica, Joe, what potency would you use? You know what? I just ordered it. I don't happen to have any on hand, and so I think that I ordered it in a 30 and a 200. I'll probably use it in a 200. So I was using Silica 6, then I've moved to Silica 200. And I think that's what I'm probably going to stay with, is the 200 for silica. I'm taking it twice daily. When I was using the 6X, I was using it 2, 3, 4 times a day. Oh, PRID is from Highlands. Interesting. I didn't know that. PRID is great, says Robin. Page 1403 in the 4th edition. There we go. 1403. Do I have the 3rd? Oh, excuse me, friends. I'm using the 3rd edition of the Materia Medica. Please excuse me. Yeah, I might do that. Drawing salve. Now, well, a drawing salve, we have to ask ourselves, does it draw out just pus and minor debris, or will it also draw out, that's the question, will it also draw out splinters, etc.? Because we know that what silica does, it doesn't draw out, it actually creates a suppuration and pushes it out because it causes, I don't know if I'd really call it quite an infection, but it causes it to harden around the splinter and then subsequently pushes it out. So I have to say that I'm prepared. Should I need to, I will have it. I mean, I'll have Perry go at it first, see what we can do. If it is too painful and I have to have it done otherwise, then I guess I'd be prepared. But my friends, this is the way I look at it. I trust my medicines, and I'm going to trust them, and I'm going to push forward and going to make the assumption that it's going to work. Here we go. Lisa says, PRID worked magic on a spider bite on hubby's back. Took a couple of days, but the swelling and redness has disappeared. Yes, great. And Karen says, PRID is great for itchy bug bite, too. A little goes a long way. PRID is HPUS, says Robin. Thank you. We like PRID as well. Okay. Let's see. Betsy, I've used PRID often for splinters, says Marty. Well, that's good to know that it's also used for splinters. Vacuum that baby out, or cupping. Cupping. Nice idea. Yeah. That's a very good thought, Harry. Nice idea. Yeah, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I was using the wrong edition. I said 4th edition of the Materia Medica, and it was the 3rd. All righty. Let's see what else everybody's saying on this forum here. I use silica to get rid of the corn on my foot. Yeah, silica is really great for those kinds of things. PRID made by Highlands. Let's see. I use PRID's drawing salve for small sticker splinters, and it works well. Thank you, Angela. I'm going to certainly give that a try. But meanwhile, I'm going to stay with my silica orally, silica 200. I'm going to hold on to the idea that Maristica might be of use at some point as well. Let's see. Just had bad cat bite after I accidentally stepped on cat, says Nina. Painful using Ledum and Hypericum. I only have 200C as 1M better. No, 200C could probably do it. But I will tell you that cat bites, you want to look in your repertory under bites, injuries, bites, animals. And certainly Ledum and Hypericum are very important. But I also want to remind you, I also think Stramonium can be very useful in animal bites. Can be a very good remedy, and we usually use it in a 200. For various things, says Lori. Well, how did I not know about this combination medicine? It's so great to know. I had to have a fractured patella surgically repaired a few months ago. they used a wire to move the bone back into place. Would silica act on that wire? It's possible. If the wire is sticking out, it might help push it out further. But if the wire is in place, if you know what I mean, like a, if it's intended to be in a special place, and what I mean by it doesn't have anything to do with intention, to be honest, but, mesh in the abdomen and wires and all those kinds of medical implements are generally not pushed out by silica unless they're already poking out. I have a friend who gave birth. After her birth, they used a suture for her episiotomy, after the episiotomy, and they left a suture right there, and it was poking out because she was using silica. She couldn't imagine what it was. She had no idea. She used silica, and it did eventually start poking up, but she did have to have it pulled out all the way. Maybe she could have waited. I don't know if you want to wait that long when it's something like a suture and in that area. You could take a photo of it so we can see it and enlarge it. Yeah, we could do that. That's not a bad idea. I might do that. If it's going to be, probably be a while before this comes out. Yes, the podcast was posted. Okay, podcast. Okay, yes, thank you. All righty, let's see what else we've got. Prid works magic in a spider bite. I think we got that already. My neighbor used silica to get rid of some splinters, but unexpectedly it pushed out tiny metal shavings that were in his eye from years of handyman work. He wiped them out and then he was fine. Yes, Mindy, that's exactly the kind of stuff that happens with silica. That's exactly what happens. Glass and people who have been in accidents, and glass has been, shards were embedded in the skin and they had no idea, or that they were told it was all removed and they absolutely were not removed. So that's exactly what happens. We soak the area in clean kerosene, very drawing. Yes, you're right about that, Buffy. Don't wrap tightly. Draw even blood poisoning, splinters and infection, etc. That's her farm recipe. Bug bite thing is a useful little suction thing for splinters. Bug bite thing is a useful little suction thing for splinters. Never heard that. Natalie, jot that down for me, please, if you don't mind. We use an Epsom salt soak for our goat who had an infection around the hoof. Wonder if that would work for a splinter as well. Yes, it could. Yes, it would. I think it could help somewhat. Kerosene cleared a cat bite. Kerosene can be pretty powerful stuff, friends. It can be very useful. Epsom salt soak is a great idea, Debbie. We also use that to remove a glass splinter in my baby. Buffy, which remedy cleared the cat bite? Asks Donna. The kerosene soak. I took Silica 6X, says Phyllis, for several days, and it worked its way out enough so I could pull it out. That's what I'm expecting. I had a client tell me just the other day, she's in her late 70s. She had cesarean sections for her babies. After taking silica, she was using it for, what was it? Bunions. Silica is a great medicine for bunions. After I think she said a couple of weeks, maybe a few months, one of the sutures from the cesarean section started to poke through her abdomen, and she pulled the rest out. And it had been in there. I mean, she was 78, my friend. She is 78. Her last baby was in her late 30s, I believe. It was a 1-inch bamboo splinter. It felt like a board. Yes, says Phyllis. Yes. Good luck, Joe, and I have confidence in these remedies, too, so much so that my family thinks I'm crazy when I say I would use them before going to a doctor for something as serious as an animal bite. Yeah. Why do you also recommend stramonium for animal bites? Would you give them ledum first? I would use ledum, but I would also use stramonium. Why would I use stramonium? Because it just happens to be one of our good medicines for animal bites, especially, well, I noticed dogs, but we could also use it for cats. And it's a Banerjee, I don't know if it's a Banerjee protocol or Prateep just mentioned it to me. I don't really remember now. Okay, my non-homeopathic tree service in-laws have always used Prid for decades for splinters. Oh, I'm so on the Prid thing. I'm going for it. But meanwhile, I'm going to stay with silica. I'm going to stay with ledum. I'm going to keep the area clean. And I've decided that although it's very hard for me not to walk because I sit so much that I need to walk every day. I think what I'm going to do is create some kind of a sponge, and I may go back to the bread and milk. and put a tape around it again, and so that I can walk every morning. Let's see what everyone else. Lots of comments here. There's a foam heel pad for plantar fasciitis and has a push-out center. Yes, that's a great idea, Karen, that you can remove that creates a hole to promote a durable heel. That's it. So enough with the milk and bread, right? What potency for Stramonium eluteum? I would always use 200s, friends, for this kind of thing. Now, having said that, I have to mention that it's working with the French protocols. They often use very low potencies. They use 5s. They use 3s. They use unusual potencies. Well, they use 9s, 9Cs, etc. Cut a hole in a sponge, says Susie B. Yeah, great idea. Yes, yeah. What's wrong with my foot? I got a splinter in my heel walking on the beach. Phoenicia, Stramonium is for dog bites in the antibiotic alternative course. Thank you, Phoenicia. My beautiful students remember exactly where I've said these things. Yeah, it's so good. So tonight, I'm going to shorten a little bit here, and I'm going to Mighty's and then Mighty's Plus. And I want to show you an interesting little ditty from, if I can pull it up and organize this so I can share my screen and a video. Pardon me? Not now. No, you don't want me in Mighty's. Yes, in Mighty's I'm going to do it. That's right. So I'm thinking that I'm hoping that I can pull this off because I've got so many screens going here. I think perhaps with Perry's help I'll be able to figure it out. Yeah, Karen from Grafton, Ohio says hyper-R's. If the infection, it starts. You're right. You're right. And Myristica, because it is so specific for pushing out splinters as well as infections that ensue. Yes, what else do we have? All right. I think we've got it. So anyway, I want to give you a little story tonight. And I also want to remind you, friends, this Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, I'll be speaking at the National Center for Homeopathy. Join in. I'm going to ask you, Natalie. Pardon me?
August 20th.
The 20th, yes, August 20th, this coming Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I'll be speaking. It's free. Join me, friends. It's going to be a preview of my forthcoming course on boomeropathy, meaning remedies and methods that we use for those who are boomers. So it's anyone born from any time from 1946 to 1964, and that certainly includes me and many of you because I know who you are. I signed up. Good. I signed up. Lots of people. Good. I signed up. Great. Wonderful. I need to tell my hairdresser, says Robin. Everybody signed up. Oh, it's great. Do sign up, friends. We want to support the National Center for Homeopathy. And if you're so inclined, consider joining them. They're a really good resource. Let me also say one more thing about them. They, when I started my study group back in the 80s, started in my home, there was one person, her name was Jan, good friend. She became a good friend. And she was already a member of the National Center for Homeopathy. And she said, we must become members. I'm a member. Oh, good. I signed up. Garrett, great, great, great. Where do you sign up for this? You can just go to the National Center for Homeopathy, and you'll be able to sign up there. Just Google it, and you'll see that I'm speaking this Wednesday at 8 p.m. And so I hope that you can get in. So far, we have 4,000 people signed up, but I'm hoping that they're going to have a good amount of capacity. Last year, there were so many people that signed up when I spoke on, I can't remember the subject last year, but what good gut, bad gut last year. Thank you, Perry. That they didn't have a large enough opening in their for their forum, but this year they're opening it up further, and I'm hoping that's going to be enough because so far it's looking good that we've got such good numbers. Last year I think we had 5,000 that signed up, and so what I like about the National Center for Homeopathy, as I started to tell you, is that my friend Jan insisted that we join. And the reason she insisted we join is because that study group that I began in my living room, she actually kind of took over for a while because there was a study group method that we used. We followed the National Center for Homeopathy's study group method. And we followed it quite sometimes closely, sometimes rather loosely. And so they were a big part of my very beginning. And then they no longer had study groups. And that's around the time when I decided, you know, somebody's got to do study groups. Somebody's got to have them out there with a simple curriculum and a whole method so that groups could study on their own. with the right, starting with the right information. And then also who is sponsoring that is Boron. And Boron is one of the great pharmacies of the world, my friends. There's Boron USA, Boron Canada, Boron Spain, Boron Italy, and they're all over the world. And they changed the complexion, in my estimation, the way I see it is they changed the complexion of homeopathy in the U.S. back in the late 80s, early 90s. Up until that time, it was hard to find a lot of medicines. We only had them in X's, and they brought in the C potencies, and they have been really valuable in keeping homeopathy alive and well. And so if you stay on now, if you're a mighty, stay with me, and I'll show you a cute little story, a little video related to that. All righty, my friends. I will see you next week unless you're a mighty. And then so stay on, my mighty friends. And then Mighty's Pluses after